All right, last bit about drills. I forgot that I had put this slide up. So you can see here's a different RPM calculation. They use surface feet per minute times 3.82 divided by drill diameter. And I like this one because it does give you some general non-ferrous soft, non-ferrous hard. The Brunel, that's the hardness rating, and your speed. So you just do the calculations, and then also feed rate. If you've got something, you control the feed rate. Well, there you are. All right, so let's talk about safety wire. All right, welcome back. Safety wire. Let's see, we don't have a lot of time, so I'll try and condense this because you guys already know a lot about this, right? So, before I finish that, what is safety wire basically made out of? What is the material?
Stainless steel.
Stainless steel. So that is the go-to. So stainless steel, stainless steel wire. So there's different types, and now we're talking about stainless steel because it's the most common. So stainless steel wire comes in several sizes. Several sizes. Well, one of the smaller ones is .020. Now I'm going to give this to you right out of AC 4313. And this is where this says 020 is used on. So used on items with a hole diameter of 0.045 to 0.062 with spacing less than 2 inches apart. And I'm going to tell you practically what that means. I'm not going to use O2 on anything unless it's small screws that are close together. And that's it. Anything more than a small screw, and I'm going to something bigger. So the next size up is 032. And this is your standard go-to, say most common. And you could pretty much get away with this for almost everything. But the actual ruling on that is hole diameter larger than 0.045. And no, that is not a misprint. And why is that a problem? There you go. Spacing is the difference. But so if you looked at it simply and said, okay, hole diameter larger than 0.45, I should use 0.32. Wait a minute. Can you use 0.20 on something larger than a 0.45? Sure, you can use it all the way up to 0.62 up here. All right, so again, rule of thumb, easy way to remember this. 0.20, lightweight, small screws, less than 2 inches apart. Otherwise, I'm going to 0.32. And I'm going to lump these two together. 0.040 slash 0.041. There is a difference. This is almost always used on propellers and large items. So used on props and large items. In all honesty, in all of general aviation, the only place where you use the 040, 041 is on props. Now, there is a distinction, and I don't remember offhand. One propeller manufacturer, like Hartzell, says you use 040, and the other one, Macaulay, says use 041. So Hartzell says 040, Macaulay 041, or it might be the way around. The easy way to do it is just get 041, and then you're never wrong. Because I don't want to have 020, 032, 040, and 041, and then try and get that right. So I just like the 041, covers all my bases. In addition to stainless steel, what else do we have? Okay. There's also lightweight aluminum.
Yeah,
And copper. Okay, where am I going to use that?
Safety.
For safety. What?
Like safety.
Safety devices.
Safety devices. All right, you only used. I'll say, I'll change it for emergency equipment. Or some other item where the wire must be broken by hand. Must be broken by hand.
That'd be on like a fire extinguisher type deal?
Yes. How many twists per inch must that be?
6 to 8.
6 to 8. It is not twisted. Why not? Because it makes it really strong, and then you can't break it by hand. So it's really something that's there just to kind of tell the person who's going to break it, you really sure you want to do that? You realize that what you're about to do is not something that is normally touched? Or it is used to indicate that something has been used. Like,
Fire extinguisher.
yeah, I didn't want to, the thing that just popped into my mind is not aviation, but on the ship we had these fire buttons that activated fire stations, and so you had to go around every morning, make sure that the soft wire wasn't broken and somebody didn't push the button and activate the system. So same thing with the airplane. So make sure that autopilot wasn't engaged. All right, how-to safety. I'm not sure how much I want to write or how much I just want to look at pictures. Well, let's just do this anyway. All right, so safety wires twisted at a rate of 68.
Yes. 2 8.
6 to 8. Some of you are doing 68. How can you tell if you actually have done 6 to 8 twists per inch?
You count them, measure them.
How do you measure them?
But a ruler will measure it.
You get a ruler.
Twist gauge.
You get a ruler and you measure 1 inch and count the twists. And I only bring that up because I have a feeling that a lot of you are like, I have no idea. Because you're bringing me stuff. And I'm like, what the heck? All right. A single strand is acceptable in some cases. What are those cases? How would I know?
Manual.
The manual. What manual? This is important.
4313.
Okay, so AC 4313. Is that approved data?
All else
Acceptable.
fails.
It's acceptable. It is not approved. It never supersedes or overrides a manual. So, first thing is to go to is your manufacturer's maintenance manual. And if it tells you to install the panel and secure with a single strand of 020 safety wire, what are you going to use? Single strands of 020 safety wire. If it says install the cover, or install the plate, torque the screws, and safety, now what are you going to do?
Braided strand of 032 follow the. Well, it depends on the
You're gonna look
distance, but
elsewhere.
Where else are you going to look?
the AC
You see what I'm saying? If the manual says something about install the screws and safety, did it tell you how to safety?
Nope.
Did it tell you what size to use? Did it tell you single or double strand? Okay, so what are you going to use for guidance? AC 4313. All right, that's where you're going to go to this. So, so what are some of the exceptions according to 4313? For single strands, smaller screws, smaller screws and bolts. I'm going to take that to mean smaller screws and bolts. Close together. And I wish they wouldn't have wrote this. That are hard to reach because
Everything's hard to reach.
everything's hard to reach. So that is exactly it. Okay, so we're talking about single strand again. What size wire should I use for single strand? According to 43 Gene, use the largest wire that the hole will accommodate. And screws should be less than, how many inches apart you think? 2 inches apart. So it's really small stuff, hard to reach, which everything is, less than 2 inches apart. Okay, you can safety 2 to 3 items together. This is generally speaking. Although the max number of items that you can do with a piece of, or I'll write it out. The max number of items. Max number of items is what can be safetied. What can be safetied with a 24-inch piece of wire. So if you have a whole bunch of stuff you want to safety together, and like, I'm going to do them all, you cut off a piece of wire 24 inches and you can do what you can do. Now, I know some of you have some bolts, I've seen it about that far apart, and you're using 36 inches of wire. Yeah.
Is that playing to why the propeller flange on most planes doesn't get bigger as you go from engine stuff?
No.
No?
Nah, not at all. They wouldn't care. They would just change that rule.
Because I noticed on like really big radios, they have the same flange as like a small radio.
No, they actually should have a much. They don't. The higher horsepower engines don't have flanges. They have SAE shafts.
Oh, yeah.
Refer to single strand, kind of stupid question. But
What's that?
Kind of I'm just a little unsure. When you refer to single strand,
Single strand.
does that mean you're only,
You're not twisting it.
you're not?
That's not a stupid question. That's a really good question. You're not twisting it. Yeah, and I'll show you a picture in just a little bit. You're really just taking one piece of wire and running it through all of them, bring it all the way back, and just do a little pigtail, and you're done.
Okay.
All right. So how many items? How many items can you safety together? What's the maximum number? There is no maximum. As many as you can do with a 20 piece of 24-inch safety wire is the actual maximum.
12 of them.
How many should you be?
2 to
Say-
3.
2 to 3 is the appropriate number. All right, loop the wire around the bolt head, not over. So loop wire around head, not over. What's the exception to that? Castellated nuts. Very good. All right.
I got a question about the castellated nuts.
Okay. I don't know why this is funny, but here we go.
Does it just have to go through the hole? And I mean, can it just be neutral when you put it through a castellated?
Oh, that's a great segue. Wire should pull the nut
Okay.
or bolt tight. Doesn't matter what it is. Castellated nut, stud. Because remember, really using castellated nuts most of the time on a stud that's going a blind stud. So the stud is screwed into the material and there's no head. You just used a tool to screw the stud. So now you have a stud and you put a castellated nut over, which is funny. Some people put a cotter pin. That just makes it a bolt, so you can do the whole thing out. But you still want to pull that stud and nut, that fastener tight.
So would it still be right for the stud for a positive pull?
Yeah, you want a positive pull on everything.
Well, I know. I was thinking that
Everything.
So it's always on the right hand side.
Always, unless it's a left-hand nut. But that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Or it's lefty tighty, righty loosey. But now I just screwed everybody. So for the love of God, please stop bringing up your projects going, is this okay? And I'm looking at them going, well, you did 3 safeties, and out of the 3, that's 6 bolts. 3 of them are neutral, 1 of them's negative, and 1's positive. Okay. Yes.
Negative.
Can wires cross each other?
I've never seen anything that specifically says wires should not cross or touch. It's just a rule of thumb where I don't let them do that because they can chafe. Sometimes they have to,
No,
but
in like really old manuals, it says not to. Because
Yes,
the
I
wire will
also
cut each
saw
other.
this.
well, that's
So in some cases, if you don't put wire.
okay. Again, I've never
here.
seen it, but it's always been my rule not to because to me it's common sense. They'll rub each other apart.
Yeah, but in this case, if you can't go around here, then no way. Do not cross the wires each other.
You're not supposed to.
I've seen.
So, okay. So, should pull it tight. And along that line, there are 3 types of pulls. We'll call them pulls. What are those 3 types? Positive. Neutral. So positive, pulls tight. Pulls tight. Neutral, no pull. And negative. Pulls the, well, so I'll just say bolt. Bolt, nut, whatever, loose. You look stupid. Stupid. And get your work put on social media.
Have you done that with anybody?
Yes.
On social media?
Oh, good.
No.
Oh,
Reddit.
well, that's interesting.
All right.
Do you Snapchat stuff to like?
Do not. No, but I see on social media, like, look at this idiot safety wire. Okay. Well, you're going to end up in a minute. You're going to end up on media now because now you're going to see some of the pictures that I've taken. It's going on YouTube.
What about
So
pictures I
do
took?
not
Was this
twist. Do not. Say over twist. Do not over twist and untwist. I can tell when you've done that. So can everybody else. Let me see. Do not adjust bolt torque to make it work.
Oh, that looks good. He watches the video.
Okay, there's a specific propeller that is just horrific, and as a mechanic, we all hate doing it. It's just, it's awful. And I actually talked to a mechanic not long ago, and I was talking about that. He goes, "Oh, dude, I totally figured out a great way to do it. You torque the bolt, take a Sharpie and mark where the torque is, then loosen it, do the safety wire, and then just bring it. Don't torque it, but just bring it right back to where like, dude, you can't. Whatever. So, don't do stuff like that. All
I
right."
don't know how that works.
Is that the airplane that you showed us a picture of that had the alternator on it? You said people will put 2 belts on.
Oh, that's a different one.
I don't remember that,
Oh, that's a different
but don't mess with the torque to make your safety wire look good. That's just ridiculous. Let me see. We're not really doing castellated nuts, but when you're doing castellated nuts, you always go to the very minimum torque and see if the pin will fit in or the hole lines up. And then if it doesn't, you can go up to the maximum to get the hole lined up. What happens if the hole doesn't line up then?
Change the castle nut.
Change the nut, change it washer, add a washer, do something like that.
Change the bolt.
And remember the bolt size is
It's
not.
not the
Yeah.
wrench size.
Oh, God. Good job, too.
All right. I guess I got a little bit of time. I can write that.
I already knew that.
Castellated nuts should not be torqued. Should, hang on, let me make it a positive. Should, just cross out not, be torqued. Be torqued to the lowest setting, to the lowest. It's the lowest appropriate setting, lowest setting, and then increased to the max to align holes. If holes do not align, change the nut, say and, or add washers, or change washers. Shouldn't have to write this, but hey, what the heck. Wire should be tight with no slack. Shouldn't be able to pull it over the head of a bolt with my fingers.
You say change nut, are you talking about like just
Literally,
use-
take it off, pick up a different one, put it back on.
Okay.
Maybe the threads are cut a little bit different, which they usually are.
Can you rotate? I mean, you could rotate as well, or like if you have like several of them, you can just like.
Yeah, take one off here, put it over here, change them. So, let me see. PK, what is this one going to say?
Oh, don't scratch, like, you know.
Cut the tail.
piggy
Yes!
Cut the
Tell
tail.
everybody.
tail. Do the proper piggy tail.
Do the proper piggy tail. Cut the pigtail 1/2 to 5/8 inch long. The book says 4 to 6 twists. 4 to 6 twists. And I'm going to say hide. Hide the end to prevent, I'm just going to say injury, because to say me going ballistic doesn't really look good. It really sucks as a mechanic when you stick your hand in to do something, especially in like at the back of an engine compartment between the firewall and engine, and you get back in there to grab something and you realize you can no longer get your hand back out because somebody's safety wire was going like that, and it kind of worked with you in, and the pull back out is going to go deeper and deeper, and you're getting cut by 3 pieces of somebody's poorly cut nylon ties as well. And then you're stuck like that, and you have to ask somebody for help to push the pigtail in out of your arm and bring you a piece of tape so you stop bleeding all over the person's leather interior. So,
Sucks as a failure too with that.
how many times can you reuse safety wire?
Never.
Okay.
As many times as you can make it work.
Without them knowing.
Okay, if you're gonna reuse it, you have to anneal it. How do you anneal safety wire?
Don't.
You don't. All right. This is my rule. When using, is it gonna be on the test? Yeah. When using safety wire inside engines, only twist by hand. And leave no tool marks. So when I do stuff inside of an engine, the engine's going to get assembled. Maybe it's the bolts that hold the gears on the back or something like that. I do 100% by hand. Anything that a tool touched is cut off and thrown away. It's the only place where I can use a tool then is the far end of the pigtail that I'm going to cut off and throw it anyway. And the reason why is because I've worked on more than enough engines where something has gone through it and you get a bad oil analysis, you get a bunch of aluminum and you got to start looking for it. And what do you find? Down in the sump, a pigtail piece of safety wire that actually ended up going through the oil pump, which is usually aluminum. So don't do that. But outside of the engine, yeah, I use my safety wire pliers all the time. I have no problem with that. And I expect that you should be proficient by doing it by hand first, then practice with some safety wire pliers. Because I don't want you to leave the school saying, I don't know how to use safety wire pliers. You should be very proficient as a mechanic. So, all right, let's look at some, the wall of shame.
Yeah.
What if any of the pictures I see on here?
Wonder if Christian made it.
Okay. This is out of
C 4313.
4313. All right, a couple things we want to look at as we go through this. Not everything is a wall of shame. When you're doing groups of 3 or more, note that if I cut and remove the safety wire here, I still have a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I'm just going to, I guess I should probably do it this way. Pin. This is the way to tighten, okay?
You sure?
Just so we're all on the same page here. So we're not, well, is it my right or your right? Okay, so is this being pulled tight? Okay, and this is being pulled tight. And if I cut it right here and made a pigtail, that looks correct, yes? Okay, now if I cut this right here and make a pigtail, is this being pulled tight? And this being pulled tight. Okay, you can't have the one in the middle have part neutral, part negative. It's got to be, if either one of these ends get cut, this still has to be a positive pull at all times. So if I remove this, is this a positive pull? These two? Yeah. If I remove this right here, is this a positive pull? Yes. Okay, you guys keep bringing me stuff that is negative and then positive. Don't do that. Okay, here's 2 castellated nuts. Are they being pulled in the positive direction?
Yes.
Yes, this is how you, just because it's a castellated nut, the only thing that changes is the wire went over the top. Other than that, it's still being pulled to tighten it. Still being pulled to tighten it. All right, so everything is being pulled to tighten. If you can find an example where it's not, just let me know. Point it out. I'll change. All right.
What about,
Yes, that too.
I had like an eye, yeah,
How to what?
like an eye hook almost looking thing.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Eye bolt. It still has to be pulled positive. One
How
side's
would you
going
do
to. Okay, here's our single strand. So notice that everything is still being pulled to the tightened position. I can break the wire at any spot and look at the combination of 2. Well, that's kind of funky. And then single strand here. So that means these bolts are how far apart?
Less than
Less than 2 inches.
Less than 2 inches. Let me see. Screw, double twist. Okay. And I've shown you before when this is wrong because these are, I think, castellated nuts, and you're not going to, they won't stay this way because the way the castellated nuts are rounded. And when you have bolts like this, you can actually run the safety wire up through, so you bring it through here and run it through here if you want. You don't have to go around. I can show you that in class better than I can. Oh, wall of shame. What is wrong with this one?
Well, you gotta do
Everything.
It's a propeller.
neutral.
Okay.
Back it out.
Everything. Let's start with the piggy tails.
Yeah.
Are they appropriate?
No.
Somebody's going to get hurt. What happened right here?
Tried to
Untwisted a little bit.
Untwisted it a little bit.
Yeah.
What the heck is this about?
That's neutral.
That's a whole different place.
Oh wait, that's not even.
Okay, safety wire's got to start next to the hole, over here or over here. It's over here. Is it going to be?
That's negative.
Is it?
No, that's fine.
No, that's
over
neutral.
there.
That's not even anything.
Do I have to write the thing? Righty tighty, lefty loosey. If it's over here, is it pulling it to the right or to the left?
We're going that way.
It's going this way. This is the loosening way. So it's got to come over here and pull. I know, but he didn't. He said the opposite.
Well, it looks from this angle.
Yeah, well, you were the one talking. All right, so it's got to be over here. Right there. Yes, thank you for pulling it tight. Not somewhere in the middle. Okay, so bad pigtails. I don't know what you call that.
He's pulling that other one negative too.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any negatives?
No, top one. Top there.
Top one.
Right there.
That one's going tight. That one's, yeah, neutral-ish.
Kind of.
All right. Probably shouldn't even get into the markings of the bolts to see if they're in AMP hardware. Okay, so that's pathetic. Let's see. I don't even know what that is. Again, I got to think of a name for this. I don't know. This is
Bow
the
tie.
I like that. You got a little bow tie. You got the tie thing going on here. It's not a bow tie, but it's there we go. He necktied it. You know, it's just symmetrical, right? No. And then why not run it over to here and then back? You know. It's all right. So we got that going on. Is this even a positive pull?
No.
No. So.
Ran the wire through it.
And how many twists per inch? All of them. That's how many twists per inch. And this is a banjo. This is a banjo fitting, by the way. It's actually a name for that. So okay, so that's horrific. If one wrap is good, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is better. I don't know.
Where is that?
This is an alternator.
Oh.
So there's a bolt on the back that needs to be safetied. And you simply twist it and go around here. So this is going to slide down.
Yeah.
This is going to get loose. This right here, that is just going to make somebody hurt. That's the worst part. That's the biggest sin. All right, that's just.
We're laughing now. And
Whose
that's
side
what
metal?
ours looks like.
Okay, so I can see, and I forget what this is just ugly. This is ugly right here, but I will give some credit for coming back around over to here and making sure that this does in fact pull positive.
Oh, that's definitely how I twisted it.
So pulled it positive, although there's a lot of extra slack here. I doubt that this is supposed to go into that wire terminal is probably not supposed to go there, but that's not the point. And this just goes over the top and over to here, and let's see, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey.
There's one in the middle, and then there's some wire on the right side and the left side. So
Don't-
they went
Not
back,
tucked all the way
and
in.
then did it over.
Yeah, it's ugly. This is just beautiful, and I don't know how this can be done,
That's
but
the Celtic knot.
you will notice that it is actually braided.
Oh.
And I still can't figure out how this happened. How did they get?
I bet you it was a woman.
Was that
that
a
did it.
student?
Why would you say that?
Because no man knows how to braid.
Was that a student?
I got this off the internet, but then I had one student who actually did this and showed me, and still I cannot figure out how he did it, but and he did it as a joke. So there's 3 wires. You have to have 3 wires in there, so I don't see where the third loop comes from. And anyway, I just put that.
You had to give him an A.
Okay. What's wrong? What's wrong with this one?
Oh, it's not doing anything.
Oh.
That's strictly looks right there.
Okay, this is one nut with 2 holes. So
One bolt.
the wire was supposed to go from here to this hole right here. But this is what you do when you have to remove it for maintenance a lot, and it still needs to be safetied. You can just safety it. That way you don't have to cut it and redo it each time. This is just being smart right here. So, okay, that's yeah. All right.
What is going on there?
Well, it's going tight. That's just really loose and ugly going tight. Other than that, I think it's just loose and ugly.
That looks like it's over 24 inches.
But it's twisted.
Oh, we'd have to figure out what font that is. And if anybody has a phone, maybe we can figure out what QR that code that is.
What gauge is that wire?
I don't know. Oh, we've already seen the one on the right. So that's just this mess on the left. Oh, I like that one because what do you think this is?
There's just.
That looks like a bolt boss, so a bolt needs to go through here.
Does that fall under the 4313 of just the largest size of the safety wire?
That's right. So, well, it's a big hole, and this is horrific. But I probably didn't even notice this, and I put it on there. So you have to have a slotted bolt to get through. That's the joke. You don't really have a slotted bolt. Okay, so what do we got here? You guys wouldn't recognize this, but this is going backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. So going backwards, and that's the worst thing. All right. So, oops. Viewers at home won't be able to see this one real well. But what do we got here? It's pulling it. Well, what's wrong with this one?
Going over
It's
all
going the
the
wrong
ice.
direction.
It's going the wrong direction. So it's pulling it loose.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
reverse thread.
This one I actually looked at this for a long time and thought it actually looks quite. I couldn't find anything wrong with it, and then I wrote this to myself. Nice safety wire. Too bad about the electrical wire. Can't read that, but the electrical wire is running through underneath what they bolted down. Smashed it. So shame there.
Shorting it out too.
What?
What this is.
What?
This is beautiful right there.
Wow.
That's so
They both
wrong.
tied it, or they tied it.
I don't know. I got a little bow tie. It's like get that far and just give up. But What about that pigtail, huh?
I think we're trying to get cable off of that one. Free cable.
Okay, so far you probably have not recognized any of the components up close until I get to this one.
Oh, that was from class. Wasn't it?
That must have been Christian.
No, this is nobody in the program now, but this was actually turned into me as a real project. And I laughed. Probably shouldn't have, but I laughed and said, I got to take a picture of this because this is the worst mess I've ever seen in my life. And it pretty much is.
Was
So,
it G?
where do we even start? Well, we can start with the things that are going to hurt somebody. We got that. It's going to the right, going to the right, going to the left. And then down, and then I don't know what happened here. And then that's just so loose. And then don't do stuff like this. That is just that is an embarrassment. I like this. It goes from here. Does it stop here? Oh, it does stop there. Okay, nice. All right. A little hard to explain. Okay, that's a mess. And this is the same thing. When you come through something, it should have came to this side. So it should have twisted to here, went through, and then started the twist here. You don't start and end the twist here because it's a negative/positive pole for lack of other things. Nice lock wire. I'd be ashamed if something happened to it. Yeah, that's exactly what I say to you. I have a better one now, thanks to Tim. So YouTube, certified master technician. End of show. All right.
What about the pictures I sent?
Oh wait, go with that.
I forgot to put them up here. So Tim added some on there. So all right. Huh? Yeah, Tim sent me some nasty stuff that he did himself and then sent it to me. Look at this embarrassment. I'm like, Tim, you did that.
It wasn't me. It was.
Over at the Aerospace Museum, they have the big jet turbines for the SR-71, I think. And the lock wire that's on there is pretty impressive. I don't know if you ever had a chance to see that, but it's wild.
I have not.
Yeah.
All right, so I will tell you this, and this is just the way life works. It does not matter how great of a mechanic you are. You could be somebody who could troubleshoot things over the phone with your eyes closed. You could troubleshoot with somebody holding a phone next to you and be like, yeah, I can tell you exactly. But if you can't safety wire, nobody's going to believe in you. Truth, right? I don't know, it just is. So safety wire matters for that reason. I don't know. Just does. So you just got to practice.
Painful art.
Where do we use lightweight copper safety wire?
Emergency devices.
Emergency devices. And how many twists per inch does emergency stuff get?
No.
0. How many twists per inch for maintenance safety wire that is cut? 6 to 8. Okay. Single strand. What's the maximum distance screw should be?
24 inches.
No, listen to the question. Single strand, how far apart should the bolts be?
So less than 2 inches.
All right. Single strand safety wire. The correct size of wire is?
The biggest size.
Very good. If you're going to do single strand, you should use the largest wire that will fit through the hole.
Unless the manufacturer says otherwise.
Don't make it complicated. What size safety wire is used on prop bolts? 04 something.
40,000 to 41,000.
The pull should be what?
Positive.
Okay, which way is positive?
To the right.
Righty, tighty, lefty, loosey.
But if it's left turn bolt,
If it's what?
left strand bolt.
If it has left-hand threads. See now, if a bolt or something is left-hand threads, it's usually marked with hash marks or something, so you could tell.
It's usually rotating in a way that would tighten it anyways.
Yes. And they're not that common, not that rare either. But all right, so there are 6 Q&A questions, so you can miss.
One.
You can miss one.
I'm gonna fail already.
All right.
See you later.